You may be dealing with ghosts, or other spirits, or other monsters.
Dead as the building.
How strange. Surrounded by dead trees. Everything's dead.
It's like a skeleton of a place.
All right, you ready to look for ghosts?
Yep.
Let's do it. Dubuque is a small town on an old dirt road in central Kansas. It sits on the border between Barton and Russell counties. The first European American to see Dubuque was the adventurer Zebulon Montgomery Pike on his expedition to the Rocky Mountains. He made camp on the northernmost bend of the Arkansas River on October 13, 1806, and explored the area for 2 weeks. Also passing through in the 1800s was legendary gunslinger Kit Carson and General Kearny's Great Army of the West. It was here in Dubuque that Buffalo Bill Cody was captured by the Kiowa Nation. He said he was tied with ropes to the center post inside a teepee. While being held as captive, the chief's daughter, who had brought him food and water daily, fell in love with him. And so the chief told Buffalo Bill that he would be spared if he married the princess, to which Bill agreed. But he had a secret plan. At the last moment before saying "I do," he did a surprise backflip and landed on a horse. With arrows and tomahawks slinging by him in hot pursuit, he barely escaped to tell the tale. Attacks by American Indians became increasingly common in the mid-1800s, and a U.S. Army outpost named Fort Zara was erected near Dubuque. For the next decade, a cavalry of 50 soldiers fought back against the raids, until the area was brought under control and made safe for travel. The first permanent trading post was established in the gold rush of 1849 by George Peacock. The Mountain Ranch, as it was called, was a welcoming oasis on the Colorado branch of the Santa Fe Trail, serving food and drinks and watering cattle. But the trail station soon became frequented by a rowdy Kiowa Indian named Sitting Bear, who loved drinking, dancing, and getting into fights. It did not help matters much that his name grammatically translated to satanic in English, and he was greatly disliked by the Puritan settlers. Then, one fateful day in 1860, the obnoxious Sitting Bear showed up at Peacock's door, pressuring him to write a letter of recommendation so that he could visit the city of Wichita. Knowing that Sitting Bear was illiterate, Peacock tricked him and actually wrote on the paper, "This is a bad apple. Be wary of him." Sometime later, when Sitting Bear learned of this double cross, he gathered a group of horsemen and attacked the mountain ranch, killing George Peacock and everyone else there. He then stole all the cattle and burned it to the ground. In 1864, the nearby ranch of buffalo hunter Charles Rath was attacked and burned. Thankfully, Mr. Wrath was warned ahead of time by the friendly Cheyenne Indians, and he escaped by crawling on his belly through the northern field. In 1867, the co-founder of Barton County, Francis Booth, was found with an axe splitting his head open, though many believe it was framed up to look like an Indian attack. And he was actually done in by his poker-playing buddies. The final attempt at an uprising came in 1868, when a Cheyenne war party attempted to burn down the Santa Fe Trail trading post, which was the only building existing in Barton County at the time. But this attempt was foiled by the cavalry once again. By 1880, the Plains tribes moved west, the soldiers returned east, and the old Santa Fe Trail had been discontinued for railroads. Dubuque was once again a no man's land. Essayist Bernard Bryant Smith wrote that the area had become a general rendezvous for bats and marauders, and these occupied it by turns, the former hiding by day, the latter by night. But a new age came around 1887, when a post office opened in Dubuque, followed by a community of Volga Germans from Tsar Alexander's Russia. The Volga were accustomed to harsh treatment, shunning, and prejudice in their long trek across the globe, and proved stalwart in facing the dangers of a new frontier. By the turn of the century, a town named Dubuque was operating on Winterset Road, including a supply store, a stable, a postal service, and 2 houses of worship. The Lutheran church, which sat on the town corner, also had a 1-room schoolhouse behind it, taught by the pastor. For the next several decades, the community lived and worked quietly. I wish I could tell you that the story ends there. But somewhere, somehow, it went wrong. Beginning around the 1940s, people driving down the country road and looking over to Dubuque noticed that no one was there. And by 1950, the town was officially an abandoned place, with no record of what happened. Some say the Lutherans gave up and joined a much larger Catholic church to the south. Some say the pastor, named Luther, renounced his faith and was defrocked. There is another urban legend that the pastor made a deal with the devil and turned his back on God. We do not know what's true and what is folklore. All we know is the town and those in it vanished. And so we have come here today to investigate this rapidly fading mystery and uncover clues before they decay to dust. Clues to the missing congregation of Dubuque, Kansas. All right, you ready to look for ghosts? We're going in. There may be ghosts or goblins inside. Only one way to find out.
Hello! It's a rabbit!
A rabbit! Ah!
In a hole somewhere. He just took off.
Well, what do we see so far? Looks like this place has just about had it. Shall we take a look inside?
Oh, did you see
There goes that little rabbit. I did see him. Oh my goodness. Heavenly grace, what happened here? Total collapse.
Whoa!
I believe this was the second story.
Wow.
These stairs went up to the balcony. The spire of this church, you see, enters through that door, which collapsed onto the main floor. I'm imagining this is where the preacher stood. That may have been his bookcase. Yes, it's almost like a birdhouse at this point.
Yes. Oh, I felt something tingling touch my arm. It was weird.
Something touched you.
Yeah, I'm seriously, it felt like something tingling was touching my arm.
What's going on in there?
There seems to be some rope. To the bird nest.
Yes. Do you see the collapsed ceiling
Yes,
on the floor?
I do.
Had a tin ceiling. Looking for the Muffin Man, huh? Think they were playing mini golf here, huh?
Hello! We're looking for the ghost! Is there anybody in here?
Oh my goodness. The ceiling is gone. The ceiling has caved in. That looks like an old toolbox. Is that an old bed? Old bed springs. Yeah, you could go through to the basement on this one. Ooh. Did you hear boards moving? We just heard some boards moving around inside. What was moving? This? Now we heard a board moving over there. Wow. Let's get out of here.
You know, sometimes when you say it feels peaceful, it doesn't feel peaceful.
No.
It's hectic here.
You're quite right. This is a nerve-wracking
Yes.
old church. This isn't a church anymore.
Eerie feeling.
Goodness. It just makes you wonder what could have happened here. What went wrong? Why are all the trees dead?
That is another thing that's so weird. They all look like they died at the same time. It's like the whole land died.
These were big, powerful trees that just died along with the building. I can't imagine it. These were big, strong trees. Dead. anyone still here? What happened? Who did this? I'm trying to understand what happened. Are you dead? How long have you been here? All right, let's go. It says Lutheran Cemetery. And we're assuming it's the church congregants buried here. Maybe they have the wisdom and answers we seek. Can you tell us anything? Ah, we have someone coming through.
Can you tell us what happened to the land here?
Can you please speak to us? We only want to know your story. And also, we want you to understand that we care. You can tell us anything. Oh! This person's name was Engel. E-N-G-E-L. Engel. That's taller than you. Oh, thank you for that. Julianna, look. Do you see these ruins in the distance? I think it's being indicated to us that the haunting is actually behind us. That's the ghost town of Dubuque.
That is destroyed this place?
I'm thinking so, yes.
photographer guy. How cute he is. I can see you.
You're busted, pal. We got you.
Oh, look how cute he is.
You are busted, Mac.
I want to see him run away. There he goes. There he goes.
He escaped. After him. As we conclude today's investigation, we are able to report to you many squeaks and sounds and things that go bump while your back is turned. But our most interesting evidence was discovered some 30 feet north of the graveyard. Someone had purposely scratched away the name on a headstone and dragged it out of the cemetery into an empty field. It appears to be an act of anger or guilt or some other extreme emotion. Perhaps this connects to the heavy aura of tragic and bitter feelings surrounding the church. As to the town itself, the land now belongs to one large agricultural corporation. After the advent of modern farming equipment, it appears the penny-wise old-world farmers of Dubuque sold out to a larger conglomerate and returned to the eastern states where they had family. The U.S. Post Office closed when the Santa Fe Railroad announced it would not be laying any tracks or putting a depot here. And thus ended the town once called Dubuque. And thanks for coming along with us on this mission. We imagine there are more unknown chapters to this story, but it seems those chapters shall remain relegated to the pages of the unknown. Good night, everyone. We'll see you next time. Ta-ta.